Hello everyone, welcome back to the Ellie Way, and today I am going to be answering one of my most frequently asked questions, which is, what was it like to be a pastor's daughter? Many other variations of this question will be, what is it like to be Tony Kim and Jessica Kim's daughter? Or what is it like to watch your parents lead a church, or what is it like to be a part of what your parents are doing? It's actually genuinely, it's a very hard question to answer. I have notes, so please bear with me if I'm checking my notes a little bit. For me, if you guys know me, my core value is authenticity. I will always be authentic, I will always be honest. But in my honesty, I do know how to protect the people that I love. This is not meant to offend anyone or bash anyone in ministry whatsoever. This is just meant to answer a question that's very loaded and that I don't always get the chance to answer. I kind of just laugh it off, to be honest with you, when people ask me. I'll just laugh it off and be like, yeah, like, well, you know. And that's the extent of it. So I guess I should start from the beginning. So my parents founded Renaissance, which is our church in Bakersfield, California. Tony and Jessica Kim, my amazing, wonderful parents. And they founded this church. And it first started off with 6 of us in the living room. And those 6 are still here today, part of my life. And so they got to watch me grow up, they got to watch my parents grow, they got to grow with us, and it was a journey. It's a true journey, and I think they will agree with me when I say it hasn't been easy, but it has been rewarding. Currently I am in leadership position with Renaissance, and I've done it because the Lord asked me to, and so I will get into that. Part of my dad's job was to travel. He travels around the world to speak to different churches, different nations, and travels, and that's what he does. And it's a form of itinerant ministry. My dad now has a network. He also runs a school. He still does itinerant ministry, not during COVID, but you know, assists and consults and does all of these things when it comes to ministry. And so he does a lot, which then falls a lot onto the rest of my family. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She still is, I should say. My mom is a stay-at-home mom, and she has really raised me and my siblings to this point to be who we are today. Definitely my dad has as well, but because my dad was gone quite a bit, my mom has homeschooled, and you know, I grew up homeschooled throughout my entire life. I think I probably was very lucky because when I was little, me and my dad and my mom had so much time together because it was just the 3 of us. And so my dad would teach me the Bible, my mom and I would worship for hours and hours and hours, and that's when I discovered that I wanted to dance. Very few people actually see my mom up until recently, when she did start coming out more and speaking, and her voice is being heard, and she's stepping into her own role, which is really, really amazing to watch. But when I was growing up, whenever I would go places with my dad, whether it was conferences or a place that he would speak at or whatever the case was, everyone knew his name. I personally have received a lot of opportunities and a lot of great exposure to different things because people of great influence that are connected with my dad have given me the ability and opportunities. It was cool for a while, and then I started to deal with things that were just what normal teenage girls deal with. You know, my dad would always show up for my performances, he would always show up for my birthday, like and all holidays, like he was around, but I'm just talking like generality. And I think I didn't realize that it was normal either. I don't think I realized that it would have been the same whether he was in ministry or whether or not he had a 9-to-5 job. So my identity began to form as a pastor's kid and of being your Pastor Tony's daughter. Sometimes it was Pastor Tony and Pastor Jessica, but again, because my dad is more of the face, he is more in the spotlight, they would say to me, oh, you're Pastor Tony's daughter. And for a while it was fine, and then once I started growing up and trying to find my identity, it got really hard. So I've always had my relationship with God separate from my relationship with ministry and church. I never got to the point where I hated God, but I did get to the point where I did hate ministry. Around 16, 17 years old, I had just gotten so sick and tired of the backstabbing that I saw happen in leadership. And I got sick and tired of watching people leave because of offense, because it just, for me, it was just like, why are you being a coward? You know, why are you not looking at the issue and choosing to fight for a relationship? It never made sense to me. Like, I understood needing to pursue healing. My identity had become so very rooted in the fact that I was a pastor's daughter and not that I was Elia. It was when people would leave and choose not to still have a relationship that it would get extremely hard for me. And so I had this idea in my mind that ministry breaks relationships. And that's how I viewed it for a long time. So I told God, I never want to go into ministry. Your nevers tend to become absolutes, and your absolutes tend to become broken, because sometimes the things that you want for yourself so badly is not exactly what God wants for you. I've come to the space of my life where now, if God tells me to do something, I'm going to do it, and I know that I'm going to have a love to do it because He does not want me to be miserable. So I, as a pastor's daughter, of pastors who have quite a bit of influence in ministry, I had to deal with a lot of identity issues because people always saw me as this role model or as this person that could change the world. And there was it felt like an expectation, and whether it was or it wasn't, it was never from my parents, but it was definitely from other people. I would have people come up to me and tell me what they thought I was gonna do. So it's when you have, I think, and then you say after the fact, I also think it's God. I don't usually take it because I have a hard time when people give me their opinions and then call it God. When I was younger, I did not quite handle everything with grace. And I wouldn't throw a fit. It's just I was very honest, again, and very authentic, and I wanted them to know that I was not okay with them. And I wanted them to know that I was upset. And I wanted them to know that I did not like what they had to say. And so the way and the manner of which I spoke came off very strong. Not in the sense of being rude, as in like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. It was just, thank you for your opinion, but I never asked for it. And things like that. I did have a specific tone, and my friends talk to me about this all the time. They're like, you have this tone that when we know you get in that tone, it's like, don't mess with her. Like, really don't mess with her. Like, just let her take her time and relax and calm down, and then everything will be okay. I had to learn how not to feel like I always had to please other people. Or even if I did feel that way, realize that that's not what I had to do. That wasn't my only choice. And that if I screw up in certain areas, I can own my choice, take responsibility, and move forward. That is what a true role model, in my opinion, would do. And I had to define what a role model was for me, because everyone would tell me, you're such a role model, you're such a role model. And I really felt like all I was doing was just screwing up constantly. I used to look at myself in the mirror and tell myself, you're stupid, you are a failure. And so because my identity was not in God and not in God gives us choices, it was in I'm a pastor's kid and people have these expectations and I have to meet all these expectations and I'm a role model and I'm this and I'm that, it started to literally eat me alive. And that was just with pastors, like in ministry. Like that was just in ministry alone. That was on top of dance and all of the craziness that I went through with that. Constant emotional abuse that I would encounter in dance. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And so for me, I got to a space where I told God, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to. I don't want this. I never asked to be great. I never asked to be a role model. I never asked for the spotlight or to be in the limelight. I am just here and I am waiting for you to tell me where I should go and when I should go. I truly abide, my relationship with God truly abides by this. Where he goes, I go. What he says, I want to say. What he prays, I want to pray. Because Jesus only did what he saw the Father do. No matter what everyone else around him said, no matter what everyone else around him did, no matter the accusations, no matter what the cost was, Jesus only did what the Father did. He only said what the Father said, and he only prayed what the Father prayed. I came to a point when I was so angry with ministry, and I had talked to quite a few other leaders. I call him friend, and I'm getting emotional talking about it because I love him so much. He told me, go read about the life of Jesus, and I was like, I have been. He's like, no, go read about the life of Jesus. He said, because he's like, you're gonna find so many things about Jesus that you didn't know about before. And I did. It was the most beautiful experience because I went back and I read and I realized that Jesus lived his life in such a way that it transformed everyone else around him. So when I had that realization, that was probably in mid-2019, and I had just gone through literal hell. Once I had that realization of who Jesus was and how Jesus lived his life, I was like, you know what, I'm done with this, with my identity being in the fact that I am a pastor's kid and that people see me in this way. I realized that if I put out an image that I want people to see, then they're going to perceive it however they want to perceive it, and I can't control that. What I can control is me, my thoughts about myself, and how I live my life, and the choices I make, and I am responsible for taking responsibility when I screw up. And when I screw up, I don't have to dwell in it and call myself a failure and look at myself in the mirror and say, you're a failure. I can say, okay, you screwed up. We know that doesn't work. We know that shouldn't have happened, but we can't change the past. So then I go and repent and I move along with my life. It's not pretty. Ministry is not pretty. You see people on fire for God and and preaching and praying for people and seeing signs, wonders, and miracles and all these things. There's a cost. And that cost is you have a big fat red target painted on your back for the enemy to attack you, and you have to make sure that you are doing everything in your power to stay in alignment with God, and he will do his part. If you do your part, he will do his part. And that is what I have learned being a pastor's daughter. Because whether you're going to have your ministry be in the church or in a different sphere of society, you're going to have the same problems. You're going to have the same problems. So when God asked me, our church was in need of a children's director, and he told me, take it on. And I was like, haha, no. I don't recommend telling God no, because he'll just laugh at you and then make a way anyway. So, what happened was I was sitting in my room, and this was last year, and I was like, I don't want to take on a role of ministry when I feel like I don't have a good relationship with it. And so he was like, okay, that's fair. And then over the course of the next week, I had gone to lunch with a pastor of another church down in LA, Mama Sue An, and I was talking to another person, Uncle Evie. I was talking to him and I was processing with him, and then that day, a different pastor was speaking, And that whole message was about forgiveness and how it's not necessarily for the other person, but for you yourself. And it was the most incredible time that, God took me through what should have taken years of healing. He took me through in one instant. And because of that, I had a huge breakthrough. I had already been involved with ministry though. At that time, I was already leading Friday night prayer services, and for a year. By the time I took on the role of children's director, I had already been in ministry for a year. I told the Lord, I said, God, I really have no desire to go into ministry, so if you really want me to do this, you're gonna have to give me the desire for it. And about a month out from my start date, he actually genuinely gave me a huge desire to go into this and equip little kids in the Holy Spirit, and it was incredible. And so I knew from that moment forward that if I was ever going to do anything and make a major decision in my life, it was going to have to be by the hand of God. Again, my relationship with ministry is separate from my relationship with God, and ministry and all the pain that I had been through during that time led me to a deeper, more intimate place with the Lord. And I wouldn't change it. I really wouldn't change it. That's kind of my story with being a pastor's kid, and that is a very extended, long answer. So the short answer, when people ask me what is it like to be a pastor's kid or be the daughter of Tony and Jessica Kim, it's an adventure. It's a wild adventure. And if you're going to be a part of it, you better buckle up, because God is going to use them in a way that you would have never thought possible. And God is going to take you deeper with Him. Yeah, it's not going to be easy. It's not always going to be fun, but it's going to be the most rewarding experience that you can possibly go through. If there are other pastors' kids that are out there that have struggled with the same things, or struggle to feel like they can be vulnerable because they're afraid of judgment from other people in ministry, I've been there, and I know what that's like, and it's super, super lonely, and it sucks, and I'm so sorry. And I want you to know that you can reach out. And I hope that the people watching this, whether you're in ministry or not, are encouraged by it, because I want people to see that this is real. It's not easy, but it's the most rewarding. It says, I believe in Philippians, count it all joy, as He counted it all joy. That we were the joy set before Him when He endured the cross. And if He could endure the cross with joy because of us, how can we not endure the much smaller things? And I'm not degrading anyone's pain, because I have been through pain as well, and I understand that it hurts. But we can still find joy in the moments of absolute agony, because He is the joy set before us. So that's kind of my little spiel. I know that people are probably not used to this side of me, because I've kept everything so very neutral for so many years. But I'm kind of ready to break out of that space. And so if you guys do have questions about ministry or my thoughts and beliefs, I'd be happy to answer them. So yeah, I really, really appreciate you guys watching this. Definitely let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. You can also ask me on social media. At the Ellie Way is my Instagram handle, so I'm pretty good about getting back to messages on that, so give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you are new and you have not already. This is my lifestyle. This is the Ellie Way. And part of my lifestyle is being a pastor's kid. I love you all. I hope you guys are encouraged, and have a wonderful week. I'll see you guys next time.